We're here at the office of the Chief of Police. Join Chief Charlie Beck for a conversation regarding the Chief's message for the month of October 2014. Let's go inside and visit with the Chief. Sir, we're in the month of October and Civilian Employee Appreciation Month. What value does this group of employees offer to the department?
Jack, our civilian brothers and sisters make this place run. We have almost 3,000 men and women who work the civilian side of the house here at LAPD. And they do everything from answer 911 to respond to our crime scenes to make sure that the functions of the individual areas and groups run. Without them, we would be lost.
So here we are with this very hard-working group. We all know that. They've had a really bumpy history with us, particularly the last couple of years. In the news lately, for example, we've had a shortage of civilian workers that are in the latent prints.
Well, Jack, it's worse than that. We have shortages in almost every civilian application. As a matter of fact, as many of you know, I've had to move some sworn officers into civilian jobs, such as our jailers. And very, very difficult, and difficult time for everybody, not just the LAPD, but for all of America through the tough economic seasons. Things are looking a little bit better, though. We're starting to do some civilian hiring. We're going to do some hiring of PSRs, of detention officers, of some desperately needed mechanics in the near future. So things are getting better in that regard. However, we still have a long way to go. It took us 4 years to get our civilian ranks depleted to the point that they are now. And it will probably take us just as long to get them back up to where we need them to be.
So here I am walking through the lobby of Southeast Station, and I happen to see a child sitting at a desk reading a library book and a program there.
Yeah, our little library program, and many, many stations have them, and all will eventually. It's a wonderful program that not only brings kids into police stations for a very positive reason, but also shows the community that we're more than just about jail cells and handcuffs. Our job is keeping the city safe, and there's a lot of ways to do that. And one of them is building partnerships with the community, and those little libraries do just that.
So when we're talking about officers and officers' care, one of the items that I have here today, sir, is the tourniquet kits that were presented to, I believe, by the Police Foundation.
Actually, the Police Foundation absolutely did pay for this, and it's more than just a tourniquet kit. It's a first aid kit. The foundation paid for our first first aid kits many years ago, but this is an update, and this is an update based on practical experience gained in the wars in Afghanistan. And that experience shows that a tourniquet can save a life. And many of you will already have these kits, and many of you will be getting them. We've actually made a modification to this particular run of kits in order to make them more comfortable to wear. We've extended the straps so they're a little lower on your leg when you put them on your leg. They are a life-saving tool to be used for your partners, and it is something that I encourage all of you to not only carry, but to get trained up and use.
From what I understand, sir, we're going to have some type of training before we get that issued.
Absolutely. There's a training curriculum that goes with this, and as soon as you go through it, the kit should be issued. We actively have purchased some more. There was a rumor for a while that there were thousands on the shelves, and that there were not. We will hand them out as soon as we get the training done.
And unfortunately, we find ourselves talking about another officer that passed away.
Eric Alcaraz. Eric was assigned to Southwest, going to West LA, on his wheel, just completed his probationary period. Very fine young man, great family, his mother and father, his brothers. It's a very sad thing. Eric was killed, as all of you know, in an off-duty traffic collision when his motorcycle collided with the vehicle. All of us grieve his loss, and I know it's been particularly hard on Southwest, who has lost 2 officers this year.
Let me ask you a couple questions about items that are in the news. The militarization of police departments. How do we fit in with that?
Well, a lot of lessons have been learned in the United States military. Tourniquets are one of them. An example, when people talk about militarization of police, oftentimes they think of that as a bad thing. But we have found many, many things that help us to do our jobs and help us to keep safe from the experience of the military. First aid kits are one of them. but also some types of armored vehicles, some types of weapons, many types of field provisions. In other words, tents, air conditioning units, all these things you see in our field command posts many times come from the military. So it isn't a problem in my view that we have these things. It's just the use of them when it's appropriate. You know, when it's just like wearing your helmets. You put them on when you need them, but when you don't, because it presents a militarized presence, which we don't need all the time. Now we do need it some of the time, but those times are rare, and so you use these things when they are the right thing to do, but we don't when we don't need them.
Several items that have come up in the media have been rather controversial. How do we assure the public that we as an agency keep a high level of transparency?
You know, I do it in everything that I do, and it's important that all of us do it. It's, you know, it can't just be the chief's message. It's got to be the chief's message delivered by every one of you. You know, one of the things that makes this department great and makes this department as functional as it is and has such a degree of success is that people believe in us. And people believe in you when they can understand what you do. So, you know, one of the things I ask everybody to do is when you make an enforcement contact, give an explanation. It doesn't have to be long, but you should always, you know, the old term with my training officers was sell the ticket. You know, this is why I'm doing this, sir. You know, this is why I stopped you, that kind of thing. When you do that, people may not like the fact that they're having an enforcement action taken against them, but they'll understand why, and you will gain support for the department. And support for the department is what makes us work. You know, there is no possible way that 10,000 men and women of the Los Angeles Police Department can control what 4 million people in Los Angeles do. Most people comply with the law because they want to, because they believe in the law, because they believe that the Los Angeles Police Department is fair and it's effective. And that's why I ask all of you to be effective, do your job right, but be fair, and make sure people understand why you do things.
There's a question that everyone is asking that's wearing the same uniform that I'm in. What's going on with the contract?
Well, you know, with the city and the union, the Protective League are working towards getting a contract, and you know that is on everybody's mind. It's certainly on mine. But in the meantime, you know, we've done a couple of things that I think are important to the rank and file. One, we've restored the pay of our newest officers. I think that is very important to everybody that is interested in the future of this organization. You know, retention and hiring are the life's blood of this place. And so to erase the pay imbalance for our newer officers was very important to me, and something I worked very hard towards getting, and something that I insisted on with the mayor, not only Mayor Garcetti, but with his predecessor, Mayor Villaraigosa, and also with the CAO, Miguel Santana. You know, this is one of my priorities. You know, this is what we need to do to move this organization forward. Then also the restoration of paid overtime. You know, sending officers home instead of having them at work is not the right way to run a police department. Now, in times of severe economic challenge, we may have to do that, but that's not the way I want to run this place, and I know that's not the way my cops want to work. So we've made a couple of steps in those directions, but we still need a contract, and Los Angeles police officers deserve a raise. You know, now the issue is whether or not the city can afford what they deserve. But nobody should think that anybody, especially this chief, thinks that the Los Angeles Police Department shouldn't get paid more. Of course we should. This is the best police department in the nation. It's all about whether the city has the ability, and that's what negotiations are about. Stay safe. Keep an eye on each other. Remember that you are not only the first line of defense for this city, but for each other. You know, the advice that you give, remind your partner to wear his or her seatbelt. Remind your partner, check to make sure they have their vest on. We can do things to keep ourselves safer, and you can do things to keep your partner safer. You take care, and I'll talk to you later.